plan.
We're gonna have to speak really loud tonight, guys, because these masks. You're gonna take it down?
Yeah.
There you go, you're live.
Okay. I think you've set a good tone if you keep it up, though. I mean, it
No, it's fine.
sends a message to all those who are watching on the audience.
That's it.
Okay. We're live.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This regular meeting of Township Council is being held according to the scheduled meetings of Township Council established and adopted by Township Council, which schedule designated time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We're using an electronic amplifying recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record, and request all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address. The recording device will be still utilized by a Township Clerk's office for the preparation of minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meetings. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
Present.
Mr. Owens,
Present.
Mrs. Stubbs,
She's on the line.
Mrs. Winters,
Here.
Mr. Mignon,
Here.
Mrs. Trotto. Here. Mr. Mercado,
Present.
Mr. Carlemere,
Here.
Mr. Cardis,
Here.
Mr. Lechner,
He is excused.
Chief Harkins, Mr. Chadwell.
He is excused as well. Before we go to our public portion, one of the items on our consent agenda, Resolution 2004-089, I'd like to pull that off and have it separate from the consent agenda. So I entertain a motion to do that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
Yes?
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs,
Yes.
Mrs. Winters,
Yes.
Mr. Mignon,
Yes.
Mrs. Trotto. Yes. Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Our public portion shall be for agenda items only. Anyone addressing council may speak at one time. Once all those wish. Okay, I'm getting some feedback. If you call it into our phone, please put your phone on mute. I'm getting feedback from someone's home. Thank you. Public participation will be for agenda items only. Anyone addressing council may speak one time. Once all those wishing to address council have had their turns, they may address council a second time, only if asked what was said earlier, not repeating earlier statements. The public portion will be for 15 minutes. Each speaker is entitled to 3 minutes. We'll go back and forth if we have something on our chat. Council Vice President Trotto will make me aware of that. If we have someone on the phone, we'll go to the phone back and forth. We'll now open up the public portion.
Yes, this is Peter Heinball.
Mr. Heinball.
Peter Heinball, 2 Morning Star Court. However, I have some questions on Resolution 89, which is the authorization to borrow. Does Gloucester Township now have a current cash flow forecast prepared at this time?
Mr. Cardis, did you hear that question?
Yes, Christy Eric, the CFO, was required to provide a monthly estimate of our cash needs. She did provide that. That needs to be sent to the state in order to be permitted to issue the tax anticipation notice.
All right, thank you. Can I have that document sent to me?
I defer to Mr. Carlemere. I don't know the status of the document. I have not viewed the document.
Well, should be an appropriate request
for over request. This gives you an opportunity then to know exactly what the person is seeking and you can put it together.
President Mercado, I can't hear the crosswalk.
Bear with me.
I think the request should be put in an Oprah format, so that gives the government an opportunity to know exactly what you're seeking and gives them an opportunity to put it together.
You're asking what document I'm seeking?
And make an Oprah request.
I think you should make an Oprah request, and that explains exactly what you want.
Okay, well, I want the cash flow forecast that was submitted as part of this, borrowing authorization, but are Oprahs being processed at this time?
Clerk,
No, they're not, because we can't answer them. They're being logged, but, we have a bounce back. He does send, Christy and Tom for information. That document would be something that may be immediate.
I don't know what document it is, so.
Forecast, basically, the answer is no.
You could send an email
I
to
can
the
obtain
CFO.
a copy of that.
he just-
hold on, folks, hold on. Tom, go ahead.
I can obtain a copy of that in an emailable form. I believe it was a Excel spreadsheet she did.
So as the clerk indicated, if you have that handy available, it can be done immediately, you can go ahead and send it out.
I can probably get it out till tomorrow.
Yes.
That would be great, thank you very much for that. Another question on this resolution. Will Gloucester Township be delaying the due date for the May first quarterly tax payment for the residents?
Mr. Heimball, that decision comes from the state of New Jersey, the Division of Local Government.
So that hasn't been determined by the state of New Jersey yet, is that what you?
That has not been determined. There was a bill that was passed today. They talked about the permit in the assembly, but that is not a law yet.
Okay. Does, Gloucester Township have an idea what would it intend to do if it does pass?
Mr. Cardis?
At this time, no. I would expect to have guidelines from the Director of Division of Local Government Services. There is a passage in 3902 that speaks of a limited date that the director will set. So until I can see that, I would not venture a guess as to what the extension might be if there is an extension.
Okay. I think another question.
Mr. Heimball? Mr. Heimball, your 3 minutes are up. If we don't have anyone else, we'll bring you back on the line.
Thank you, thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak during the public portion?
Ray Polidoro wishes to speak.
Mr. Polidoro, good evening.
Hello, hope everyone is well.
Evening, Ray.
My question is, in what you're attempting to do, why this was not done more so on a quarterly basis, and this was stretched out to be for the length of time and the length of money that it is.
Are you referring to Resolution 89, Mr. Polidoro?
Yes, and I apologize, sorry, yes.
So your question is, why wasn't this done on a quarterly basis, doing a TAN, tax anticipation note, rather than this short period of time? Is that your question?
Answer? You want an answer?
Go ahead, Mr. Cardis.
Typically, we do not have a cash flow problem like we would suffer here if this were to be moved forward to a future date. It rarely happens. Most of the extensions we've had in the past were because the state failed to certify the budget because they failed to adopt the state budget. In those cases, it was only a matter of maybe 20, 25 days. And so we were able to get by with the money that we had. At this point, we're concerned about not having enough money because we don't know the term in terms of how long this extension might last. You said the magnitude of the money. I'm going to correct you because this report calls for a calculation of the maximum allowable amount that can be borrowed. We do not anticipate getting anywhere near that number, and we are only going to issue tax anticipation notes based on what needs we have for the essential services that we have to pay for, such as making our payroll.
Okay, I'll ask council if they could raise the volume of Mr. Carter's audio, because it is a little difficult. I had to straight to hear him. My follow-up question would be this. This is something that is painfully clear to me that can be revisited at any time. So if, whereas you were to do this for a quarter and find that this may not answer all the demand, you could always revisit it. And opening up the window of that much money for an event that is what may look to be temporary, that gives you all that space to be able to borrow, whereas if you did it on a quarterly basis, it could be revisited. Otherwise, it looks like a catastrophic, apocalyptic event that's going to happen, and we got to take care of all or nothing right now. Is our town in that kind of shape?
Mr. Polidoro, when you say all or nothing, do you understand we're not taking out $53 million in a note? We're approved that we could take up to $53 million. Up to.
And you can take up to 12 million as well.
I don't anticipate 12 million. I don't anticipate 12 million. I don't anticipate 5
Okay,
million.
but what I'm saying is, what would that quarterly number be if you were not doing the actual 12 months or thereabouts? What would a quarterly figure be instead of this whole number that could go out to what a year's worth of that type of debt?
Mr. Cardis?
How do you work that number?
I don't have the analysis, but I mean, if it were $65 million appropriations, you could say quarterly it's about 16 million. But the issue is that different amounts are paid at different times. Like your debt service comes in a certain quarter, your pension payment comes in a certain quarter, and these are big ticket items. And what I understood correctly from Mr. Polidoro is why, and the question was, why don't we do this more frequently? The reason we don't do it more frequently is it sends typically a bad sign to the rating agencies, whether it be Moody's or S&P. When a township issues tax anticipation notices or adopts the resolution to issue tax anticipation notices, it is generally a sign of a bad financial situation. And that's what we're trying to guard against here, because we are in unprecedented time, and this could be a bad financial situation for not only the township, but for the schools and for the county.
Mr. Polidoro?
Correct you on one.
Mr. Polidoro, I'm sorry. Mr. Polidoro, Mr. Polidoro, I'm sorry, your time's up. Is there anyone else on the line that would like to speak that has not spoken yet?
Sam Sweet from Ariel.
Oh, Mr. Sweet, good evening. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm well.
To follow up with, I understand that that's the max we can borrow, $53 million. And we're not going to borrow that unless nobody pays their taxes. I understand that. My question is, how are we going to know what actually was borrowed? Is that going to go in front of council to vote on? Or is that just, hey, we just borrowed $5 million?
Absolutely, that would go before council.
Yeah, generally what happens is there's a report to council on the amount that was issued, on the rate that was issued at, and on the maturity of the note.
Could you repeat that, Mr. Curtis?
Say it again?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, what would happen is we can issue the notes, and we will do that on an as-needed basis administratively with the mayor. We then go to council to give them a report of the amount of the note, the interest rate that the township received on the
Hold on, Tom, we have some technical difficulties here.
Okay, I got the gist of it though, Orlando.
Okay.
Thank you. My follow-up though, so that would then come in front of council. Hypothetically, $3 million is needed. That would come in front of council to be voted on, correct?
No, incorrect. This resolution, if you read it, authorizes the CFO and the mayor to move forward with the issuance of a tax anticipation note as needed for cash flow purposes. The report comes after to the council at the next meeting.
And would that report be made public?
So it would take place at the meeting.
Yes.
Okay, my next question. This law was passed by the Senate and General Assembly, retroactive to March 9th, 2020, for the ability to defer taxes and the ability to defer their payments to the schools. Is Gloucester Township looking at deferring the payments to the schools?
Mr. Sweet, are you sure about that that was passed by the Senate this afternoon?
I'm reading right now, it says being enacted by the Senate and General Assembly of the state of New Jersey.
I understood it not to have been approved by the Senate yet.
That the Assembly voted 79-0 this afternoon. I'm not sure if it went to the Senate.
I'm just reading what was online from the New Jersey website, jersey.legislative.state.nj.us.
So again, what was the question about the schools?
If we're going to defer to the
If
schools.
I'm sorry, Leonard, go ahead.
Tom, if we're going to defer payments to the schools.
We will have no choice but to defer payments to the schools. We will not have the money coming in to be able to pay the schools. So right now, there is a section of the tax anticipation notes because schools can issue tax anticipation notes. But for some reason, it restricts them to the period of July 1st through January 1st. So we do have a concern that the schools not receiving their money, they could run into a cash flow problem before July 1st. And I've talked to both John Bilodeau and Brian Rapici about that, and I've spoken with Council President Mercado and the mayor. So what may happen is we can issue separate notes. One note would be for us, another note would be for the local school, and another note would be for the regional school. Those notes would mature right at the beginning of July. So at that point, they would be able to pay that note off and issue another note if they needed it, because then by law they can issue notes. Counties can issue notes anytime they want. So the county would have to fend for itself.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody follows that.
No. Thank you, Mr. Cardis.
You're welcome.
Mr. Owens, that 15 minutes for our total public portion time, you're keeping track of that.
We have 3 minutes left.
Is there another speaker?
Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates.
Mr. Krug, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mercado. Good evening, council. Hope everyone's safe, healthy, including everyone on the phone. Just want to make sure I understood the premise of Resolution 89. As it reads, it would appear to be a line of credit on future revenue as a stopgap measure against delinquency of Gloucester Township taxpayers. I can see the necessity, but without clear indication, it sounds like, as to the extent at which delinquencies would happen. I have to agree with Ray Polidoro that maybe a tiered approach would be more appropriate in this instance, since we don't know the extent of the damage or have clear projections at this time. I also have to side with Sam in that I think oversight
of the monies should fall to council as opposed to just the mayor's office and the budget office. So I would ask council to consider a tiered approach along with additional oversight of the monies.
Okay, thank you for your comments, sir.
Mr. Mercado, there's a question online when you're ready.
Okay.
Minute, but
Mr. Carter misquoted me. I wish to correct him before you close the public portion. Mr. Polidoro, you have 30 seconds, please.
Thank you. Mr. Carter's interpreted what I said as doing this more frequently and visiting this more frequently. I meant nothing of the such. This was simply taking this a one-step approach, looking at this on a quarterly basis with a much smaller figure and revisiting it, not at any other time, but in this special circumstance.
Thank you very much. We're now closing the public portion. Ready the reading, accept the minutes of the executive session and regular session. Entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Thank you. On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs,
Yes.
Mrs. Winters,
Yes.
Mr. Mignon,
Yes.
Mrs. Trotta,
I abstained from March 2nd, yes on the others.
Mr. Mercado.
I abstain, yes to all except March 9th. I was ill that day, so I abstained from that. Next are resolutions of the consent agenda. Any council member would like to have any items removed, please speak up. Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
I have to abstain on resolution, R 2004-082 on one of the POs, number 20-01572, invoices 418-2014, 2296-2017-2822. Yes to everything else on that resolution and everything else within the consent agenda.
Mrs. Stubbs,
Yes.
Mrs. Winters,
Yes.
Mr. Mignon,
Yes.
Mrs. Trotta,
yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Next, we have resolution 2004-089, resolution of Township Council of the Township of Gloucester in the County of Camden, authorizing the issuance and sale of tax anticipation notes of the Township of Gloucester in the principal amount of up to $53 million in one or more series from time to time, and authorizing such further actions and making such determinations as may be necessary to appropriate to effectuate the issuance and sale of notes. Tax anticipation notes are short-term obligations that's used to help for temporary financing. Once again, we're not taking up to $53 million. It allows us that we will can take out notes up to $53 million. We're not taking out $53 million. Just want to reiterate that again. I entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs,
Yes.
Mrs. Winters,
Yes.
Mr. Mignon,
Yes.
Mrs. Trotta,
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. On resolution 85 for the extending a temporary budget for the Township of Gloucester, what was posted on Thursday evening or Friday morning was incorrect. That was updated, and our colleagues on the council have to correct resolution. Did you receive any eGov emails?
We did not.
Okay. We'll now open up our second public portion. This is open up for 30 minutes. Anyone can speak about any topic. You're limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Once everyone has spoken, they may have another opportunity if there's time remaining in the second public portion. If there's anyone who wishes to speak, please state your name.
Ray Polidoro wishes to speak.
Mr. Polidoro.
The vote on resolution 089 The reason that you moved that from the consent agenda, was the reason for that it required a different protocol for vote and different quantity of vote of council?
No, I wanted to make people understand, because I read an article in the patch today. If you read the title of that article, the headline of the patch, it made it seem that we're borrowing $53 million. That's why I took it off the consent agenda. I wanted to explain it.
But
But hold on, excuse me, Mr.
it
Polidoro.
required,
Mr. Polidoro, but I was also aware that there will be plenty of questions prior to me pulling off that particular resolution.
okay, my question is going into the area. Did it require a 3/5 majority or just a simple majority for that to pass?
2/3.
2/3. Do you physically meet that qualification at the council meeting right now?
Mr. Carlemere, I'll defer to Mr. Carlemere.
You had 5 council members actually at the dais, all voting in the affirmative.
I'm sorry, I can't hear Mr.
You
Collins.
had 5 council members at the dais, all voting in affirmative.
Okay, and I wish to challenge the vote as for the council members that are not in physical attendance, and I would just like that to be noteworthy and for the record that I'm challenging the vote.
On what basis, Mr. Polidoro?
Majority.
On
Mr.
the,
Why?
the appearance of a physical vote that required that. I'm only challenging it. You can make whatever determination you wish. If you decide that what I'm challenging is not correct and you see fit to continue on, that's fine. I'm just challenging it, and that's my opinion.
That's wonderful, and I thank you for your opinion. Do you have anything else?
No, I wish everybody to remain safe and remain healthy, and God bless you all.
You as well. Is there anyone else?
Sam Sweet, would you like to
Mr. Sweet?
Go ahead, Sam. Mr. Cardis stated that he would have no choice but to defer the school payments. Is that prior to this law, or was that based on potential no income coming in, or lower income?
Mr. Cardis?
That would be based on no income coming in. Most of our income comes from taxes, ad valorem taxes, and without that money coming in, then I would not recommend to make the payments to the school, nor would I make the payments to the county. If we're not collecting it, we can't disperse it.
But
And that is what,
do we have a
and that
breakdown
is what
of
this
what
is for.
taxes are collected via the mortgage? Because my taxes are going to be paid via my mortgage automatically.
It remains to be seen whether we will be collecting that money from the mortgage companies.
And if we do borrow this money, well, I know it's not 53 million, Mr. Mercado, but if we do borrow this money, why would we need to defer the school payments? Couldn't we just divert some of that money to pay for the school payments?
As I explained before, we may have to borrow for the schools to get them to July 1st, because by law they can't prepare and execute their own tax anticipation notes, TANs. They can't execute those and use that mechanism until after July 1st. So we may need to do that for the schools.
But if the township is borrowing for the schools, then there's no need to defer that payment.
I agree, they would get that payment, because then you would have the money to pay them.
So we're on the same page.
We're not
Is the
borrowing
township
the
going
money. The township's not borrowing the money on our cans to make those payments. We're borrowing the money to complete our operations and to pay our bills. The schools have the ability to issue cans after July 1st. If we get the money in on the May quarter, it's not an issue. We can make the payments to the schools. We can't pay what we
Could you
don't
repeat that,
have.
please?
I think, Mr. Sweet and Tom, the disconnect in your conversation is, if payments have to be deferred. And if the school needs to do a TAN, that TAN has to be done by the municipality if it's done before July 1st. Because the school districts cannot do anything, a TAN, cannot go out for a TAN until July 1st, until January. July 1st to January is the time period. So if there's a need for both of our school districts to go out for a TAN, then the municipality at that, prior to July 1st, then the municipality would have to go out for that. Is that correct, Mr. Cardis?
That is 100% correct.
There you go, Mr. Sweet.
Thank you. Will the municipality do that?
Mr. Cardis?
Will we do what?
Go out for a TAN for the school district. This is like playing telephone, I'm sorry. Go out for a
Yeah, I see no reason why we wouldn't.
Yes.
We would need to help them. I wouldn't want them in a situation where they can't pay their bills. But I would say the majority on it has to be the first week of July. Because at that point, they can issue their own TANs if it's necessary at that point. We may be collecting taxes before that. I don't know what's coming out of Trent.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sweet.
Be safe, everyone.
All right, take care.
Mr. Mercado, could I please clarify, and Mr. Cormier, Resolution 89 was passed by full membership of the governing body, correct?
Yes,
2 via telephone and 5 in person?
correct.
Just for clarity purposes, so when we decided to hold these meetings without the public presence through the internet streaming and YouTube and voice participation under this state of emergency, I indicated to the administration and to council members that in order to conduct a legal meeting, you needed 4 members present at the dais. That's my opinion. I don't say every attorney
Yes, that's what I read also.
agrees with me, but my opinion is you need 4 members present. Other council members can participate, and they are properly participating, and their vote can be tallied. But when you're looking at official votes, you're talking about the members that are sitting at the dais. So in this particular resolution, 89, that required 5 affirmative votes. You have 5 council members sitting at the dais casting their vote. You had other council members online casting their vote, but you had 5, 2/3 sitting at the dais casting their vote, which makes it appropriate.
Majority of the full, okay, so we have 5 out of 7 in person
present
and
on the
2
dais.
online.
Correct. So what counted the
On
2/3 is the council members sitting at the dais.
Thank you for the
Thank you, Mr.
clarification.
Cormier. Is there anyone else for the public portion?
Yes, Peter Heimdall?
Mr. Heimbaugh?
Yes, thank you. So Gloucester Township has a real good track record of collecting property taxes. In recent years, it's been something like 99.7% collection, which is great. What would like a disastrous scenario be for a collection rate if things just, we went into a deep recession or something like that? Would 95% be considered disastrous, or 90%, or what would be considered like a worse scenario of a collection rate for property taxes?
Mr. Cardis, I'm going to defer to you on this one.
I don't believe it would be affected because the accelerated tax sale takes place in December. It has to take place in December, and it includes all outstanding taxes through the November quarter, along with the CCMUA and the GTMUA outstanding amount. There are always going to be investors that are interested in those and purchasing those tax sale certificates. So I do not anticipate a fall off in the collection percentage.
Well, that's sort of all that you need to hear to realize we don't even have we probably won't even have a need for all these cans. Is that what I heard?
Well, this serves as a safety net, Mr. Heimbaugh. That's why we moved forward with it. Last week, when the state of New Jersey changed their municipal budget, the state budget to September 30th, there was plenty of BAs throughout the state of New Jersey having conversations with each other. So this serves as a safety net, a bridge, whatever you want to call it, to get us through September 30th. Or further.
Right. Okay, but council will see the appropriate cash flow forecast that's prepared if the need arises to borrow money on those. Will the public and will council see the cash flow forecast that supports that need?
Mr. Carson will make that available to us.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything else? All right,
Paul Crew, Blackwood Estates.
Mr. Crew?
Just wanted to comment briefly, Mr. Mercado, on your comments right there. I think we're all in tune with the fact that this is a safety net, potentially one that's required at this time, maybe not to the extent that it's being taken. But the worry is that the oversight of these monies, in that council, it doesn't seem like, which is the representative body of the citizens, will not be giving the final approval for these funds to be pulled and to be utilized. And I think that's what some of the concern and angst is surrounding.
Well, thank you for explaining that. Anything else, Mr. Crew?
I was wondering about the temporary budget. What were the changes between what was edited on Friday and what was received by council this evening?
Mr. Cardis?
I did not see the original and the change. I believe that Christie Eric went over that with Nancy. I know it had to do with the debt service and that the number had to be changed. Nancy would probably be able to tell you what was changed in there.
I can tell you what was changed in there, and it was posted on the website. Give me 1 second. Okay, in the original, the amount appropriated in the 2019 municipal budget as detailed was $63,838,627.63. That was revised to $56,731.
56 million.
$56,731,677.63. 26.25% remained the same. However, the dollar amount went from $16,657,639.76 to $14,892,065.37. The $3,500,000 remained the same. And the $20,257,639.76 went to $18,392,065.37.
Were those revisions due to payments made more recently, or what were the revisions due to?
Mr.
They were
Cardis?
due to an error when she completed the resolution. And it was brought to my attention and she corrected it.
Okay, understood. Thank you for the explanation. Have a good week. Everyone be safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that hasn't spoken? That'd like to speak?
Mr. Mercado, there is a question here.
Yeah.
Mr. Polidoro, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to withdraw my challenge. I did not originally see Mr. Mignon behind the two flags. He's not in good camera range, so I will withdraw that challenge.
Thank you for withdrawing your challenge.
Thank you. My question, I guess, is, as Mr. Carter had addressed the tax sale, with this situation being at hand and the possibility of what you may be bonding or not bonding, has council considered a property tax deferment for the residents instead of those that fell behind by no fault of their own don't wind up in that tax sale? Is there any arrangements that you would have, a type of forgiveness, deferment, or something to that effect?
Ray, we
to
haven't,
allow people to get through this.
Ray, we have not had that discussion. We have not met as a body. I know as a municipality, what we're able to do is waive interest and penalties. Mr. Carter, is there anything else that a municipality we could do?
No, you're bound by state statutes, NJSA 48, and the Division of Local Government Services. You cannot just make up exceptions, and it is our job, unfortunately, at times to collect all the taxes and to make sure that the schools, the county, and the fire are paid 100% of the levy.
Okay, thank you.
To me, it just seems to me that that would be just as important, if not more important, than bonding or a note for the tax revenues, as it would be just as important, if not more, for the residents to receive some type of leniency beyond just fees and interest and what have you. Maybe that's something you'd want to consider and put on the important issue for the very next meeting.
That needs to be decided by the state, not us. That is a state regulation. We don't have the luxury to be able to just create who's gonna pay, when they're gonna pay. That's state statute.
Isn't that something that a municipality could inquire of the state or request of the state? Because there probably is other municipalities that are going to have residents that are in a bad situation at this period of time now. Why doesn't Gloucester Township take the lead on that and make that request of the state?
Was that addressed to Mr. Carter, Mr. Polidoro?
I leave you with that question. Thank you very much. You guys have a good night and safe.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Sweet would like to speak again.
Before Mr. Sweet speaks, is there anyone else on the line that has not spoken that would like to speak? Go ahead, Mr. Sweet.
My question is for Mr. Cardis. He said that the municipality cannot make that determination whether to defer tax payments. But if the state allows it, if the state law says that municipalities can defer tax payments, would we follow that law?
If you're asking me if it's optional, would we?
If the state allows you to defer tax payments, would Gloucester Township municipality consider deferring them? If the state says so.
I mean, we would always discuss anything that the state passes down, and we're going to be discussing all this when it comes out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has not spoken?
Paul Crew, one quick question.
Okay, Mr. Crew, you'll be our last speaker.
If I heard correctly, deferment of fees and penalties to homeowners have been waived.
No, in the past, that is something that can be done, waiving interest and penalties. The municipality is able to do that.
Okay, is that something that council is actively pursuing at this instance?
Mr. Krug, as I said earlier, we have not sat together as a body and discussed these issues, but that's something to consider moving forward.
Could that also be extended to the small businesses in the township?
Tom, is that something that we have done in the past for business owners?
To do what?
waive penalties and interest on back taxes.
I don't know about with taxes. I mean, you have other things where you could have, it's possible we waived, but I don't know about taxes.
Okay.
I don't believe you can do that.
If you could look into that, I'd appreciate it.
I can.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Thank you, Mr. Mercado. Obviously, small businesses, along with homeowners, are obviously being hit pretty hard, so I would ask you to consider them as well.
Yes, thank you. Is there anything else, Mr. Krug?
That's all for me. Thank you.
Then I entertain a motion to close the, we'll just close the second public portion. I'll need a motion, I'm sorry. Polling of directors.
Mr. Carlemere,
Nothing further to report.
Mr. Cardis,
Nothing at this time.
Chief Harkins.
Just to give the council update, so Gloucester Township as of today had 158 positive cases of COVID, including 6 of our residents that have passed away from it. Being out there, checking and working with everyone, I could tell you that, the town has pulled together like nothing I've ever seen. And the community has been fantastic. I have a list of restaurants that have provided food, lunches for our officers, for our first responders daily. I mean, I was almost afraid to write just off the top. Like Shayna's Wild Fig gave us lunch, Lumpy's Barbecue, Lamppost Diner, Salad Works, Dunkin' Donuts, Larry's Cold Cuts. There's more. Rotary has donated the supplies that they had. The teamwork that has gone in, I'm on a call with state police chiefs every morning, county police chiefs every afternoon, and the directors here, led by the mayor. And I know Mr. Carlemere and Mr. Mercado are on that call. The teamwork that has been is just, it's hard to put into words. It's been something that I've never experienced before. It gives me great hope. It should give all our residents great hope. The school districts have provided us equipment, such as today, UV light cabinets that are used to disinfect goggles in lab. Well, Mr. Bilodeau and Dr. Rapisi both offered them to us at my request because this is where we're at, getting ideas of making equipment last longer and disinfecting things in new ways. So within a day, I have cabinets that were at Charles Lewis School and Mullen School that are now in our briefing room being used for officers' equipment to disinfect. OEM, Public Works partners, Nancy's on the call. I mean, just getting the amount of work that's going in to keep everything going. I would just tell the residents, because a lot of people can't see it because they're doing what they're supposed to do. The way that this team has come together has been unprecedented, and I couldn't be prouder to be part of it. From the police standpoint, I can report that emergency services are 100% capable right now. We did have officers that contracted COVID-19. All are recovering, and I expect 3 of them have returned to work. More of them, we're expecting them, they're just waiting out their periods now. A few of them are still have symptoms. We've had symptoms from very sick to very little sickness, just like the national reports have been going. So I would just let council and the support that we have gotten in the emergency services from Mr. Cardis, Mr. President Mercado, the mayor. I know that they're trying to keep our officers safe. Every request that I've made has been fulfilled. Everything that we've needed or asked for, just consultation has been off the charts. Again, it's hard for me to describe in words how hopeful this is and how hard everybody's working and how this community's come together. So I would thank all of you. I know you're part of that. I would thank everybody that's on the call. I know they all care. The well wishes that we've received from so many people. My secretary, when she comes back, has a list of thank you letters to send out because we're tracking everything with it. So know that for everybody out there that's listening, that we are on this round the clock. We're doing everything that we can, and we're gonna get through this together, and I appreciate all the support that we got. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Hutchison.
I'd just like to thank all the first responders, the nurses, the doctors, the people picking up our trash, everybody. The police department's doing a great job. Thank you.
Mr. Owens.
Likewise, Chief, thanks to your leadership, as well as the leadership of the mayor, council president, and this entire township, the county, and the state for taking this seriously, the pandemic seriously. Thanks to all the first responders, and as Councilman Hudson said, all the other folks who are making the economy still run, from the small local businesses to the gas stations, to all the supermarkets, the unsung heroes in their public work. They're still getting your recycling, and trash is being picked up every day. All your brush is being picked up. So thanks to them as well. Chief, as you mentioned, all too many restaurants to list down, but I know on your social media pages, the GT Police social media pages, you're posting every time someone is donating and doing the good work out there. So I would just encourage all of our residents to go to those businesses, to frequent them. A lot of them are offering curbside pickup. I know my wife and I and our family, twice a week, we are ordering from a local business to provide food and kick back the economy and show our appreciation for everything they're doing for you, the men and women of the police department and first responders. Other than that, keep self-isolating out there, practicing social distancing. Don't have small get-togethers on the sidewalk, on the driveways. You see that all too often, and I think it's so important just for our first responders to know that they don't have to worry about what's going on out there. Take it seriously. Happy Easter, happy Passover to everyone. Always have to get that in. My thoughts are with those 158 residents here that have a COVID, as well as those 6 who've passed away. And lastly, this is a great time while folks are at home to fill out the census. www.2020census.gov. The more residents we have filled out, the more money we'll see from the federal government for schools, for first responders, roads, senior services, job training, so on and so forth. No excuse not to fill it out. Go online. Again, you can find it on the GT webpage. And Nancy and Michelle, thanks for being here and get this meeting running every couple weeks. Thank you.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Oh my goodness. I'd like to thank all first responders. They're out there doing their job, trying to stay healthy, trying to keep us healthy. Even to Tracy, who works at my local ShopRite. She's out there doing her job every day and again, trying to stay healthy. For those of us in the community, please wear your mask. Please stay inside. If you don't have to go out, let's just keep the good fight going. Stay inside to try to keep as many of us as healthy as possible. Those like myself with the chronic respiratory, our elderly, please make sure you just check in on them and make sure they have everything that they need. I like to applaud council for trying to keep everything moving, keep everyone involved, including myself, keeping everyone involved, keeping everyone in the loop, being transparent, just letting people know what's going on, and some of the things that we have to face. This is new to all of us. And it's important that we all work together because it is new. So just everyone stay healthy and stay safe.
Mrs. Winters.
I would like to thank everyone who joined the meeting and taking the time and energy to log on and, tough through that situation, which is not a normal situation for us. I'd like to let Scott know that I did fill out my census report. I want to thank everyone for the well wishes for all the nurses. It is appreciated, and kind of like the chief said, just seeing everyone come together has been an amazing thing. I do work in Camden, and Unforgotten Haven did send a bunch of hoagies over last week and fed, I can't tell you how many people in the building, which was greatly appreciated. And it was nice because it was a local face from Gloucester Township that was actually representing Camden, and I know they've hit most of the hospitals in South Jersey, which is an amazing thing. I also, too, am trying to support 2 local businesses a week by ordering out, and we're trying to keep our, as much as we can, staying within Gloucester Township. We ordered from the Mexican place, I forget what it's called, across from St. Jude last week, and it was delicious. That's it. It was delicious. And I think this coming weekend we're probably going to hit Seamus Wild big. So thank everyone for their well wishes. Please stay home. Please stay safe. Every person you expose yourself to, you're not only exposing yourself to that one person, but you're exposing yourself to everyone they've been exposed to in the last 2 weeks. So just keep that in mind. It's not just one person every time you have an interaction. It's every person they've interacted with. So please stay safe and please stay home. Thank you.
Mr. Mignon?
Well said, Chief. I guess winners and no-ones, they must not have no good cooks at home, but thank you to all the first responders, all the essential employees, and the whole GT community as we look to flatten this curve and win this war against this invisible disease. Thank you all. Be safe.
Mrs. Estrada?
Thank you, Chief, for sharing your sentiments, and thank you to the first responders and all the first line individuals that are out there for us every day, the ShopRite, Acme's, all that. Thank you for what you're doing, and I hope that those that are not feeling well with the virus continue to feel better every day, and my condolences to the families of those that we have lost. Thank you.
Mr. Mercado?
Thank you for everyone tuning in this evening or calling in. Each day, Monday through Friday, there is a 3 o'clock conference call that takes place that's led by the mayor and his chief of staff, the police chief, business administrator, his directors, and myself. And each day we discuss the issues that are taking place in our township. Today, with the high winds and storms, that added another layer. But normally after we're on the call, the mayor will go directly to the chief, and the chief provides us what's taking place in town as far as calls. And I've noticed that those numbers are dropping.
Yeah.
He seems more optimistic on the phone. Yeah. He cares so much about the men and women of his police department and their safety, as we all do. But those calls are getting a little bit shorter than they were before. There's been difficult decisions that have been made on those calls. Closing of parks last week, the trails. The parks were closed, but now it was the trails. So now where are people going to walk? And I've noticed in my walk with my family, or if I'm running during the day or in the evening, people are waiting and people are saying hi and people are out and about. And it's important in this time to come together as a community. So we see that from our public employees, whether public works or police department, or the people that work in the municipal hall here, our public employees that work for the school district that were out there in Lewis School. There was a picture of the cafeteria ladies at Lewis School food service passing out peanut butter and jelly sandwiches wrapped in plastic bags in 45-mile-per-hour wind. That's dedication. And that's something that I look forward to seeing and hearing. So everyone, please keep safe. Please keep the 6 residents of our township that passed away. Keep them and their families in your prayers. And God bless all of you. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Have a great evening.
You're welcome.
Okay, the